Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, the enchantment of birding in Baja, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Danny Muniz. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Take it away, Danny.
Thank you, Rob. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another daily dose of nature by Natural Habitat Adventures. So I'm Dani Muniz. I'm an expedition leader of the Great Whales of Baja in Mexico and the peninsula of Baja California Sur. And I also lead the Kingdom of Monarchs in the central part of Mexico. I'm a marine biologist, and I just do enjoy a lot of watching any kind of nature. I love birding. My specialty during university, my research was about birds, aquatic and monitoring seabirds. So I just want to take you through a little introduction about why the peninsula is so interesting for birding. So first of all, I want to explain Baja, the whole peninsula, is very narrow and isolated from the continent. It's very, very long, but it has a lot of different environments. Um, it's very, very desertic. So the desert, you might think it's a very hostile environment, but still like flourishing of life. But also, if you think through it, we have miles and miles of shore. But also, it's in the side of the Pacific Ocean where we have this limit of plates and a lot of fails, like the San Andreas Fault and all these cracks in the earth and on the tectonic. So we have a lot of mountain ranges. So it gives us a very wide different altitude environments because we have coastal environments, but also because we have all these mountain ranges. We'll talk about these hidden places in the mountains or in between the canyons that are natural oases and a lot of peaks with tiny, tiny amounts of pine and oak forests that are like isolated evolutionary islands that are just reluctant up there. So another thing that why is very interesting, like birding in Baja, is because we have a very low population density. Humans are not spread everywhere, so we have a lot of pristine environments. And if you just like to walk out or just like to drive around, um, every place is a good place because everywhere it's not very busy out here. So if you just walk through the front water streets or you just walk up to the mountains or even in the backyard, there's not much noise, there's not much people, not much pollution, so you might see something around. Well, I mean,
Danny?
okay, so I was telling you, well, Baja is very far away from everything, so we also have a very, very bad Wi-Fi. So, okay, continuing on. I just want, this is like just an introduction of what a lot of people come to visit to Baja because we have like some treasure hunts that are the endemic birds that are found here and only here. So, if you're a birder or you like to just have like lifers, which are the first time you see one specific bird. We have the great thrasher, we have the Hank's hummingbird, which is very similar to the white-eared hummingbird, but this is the Hank's hummingbird is only found in oases in the peninsula, so it's easy to find it close by water bodies like small creeks or ponds or estuaries, but even in the city, if there's like water sources like fountains or the water treatment plants, that's where we can find them. One that is very endangered is the building's yellow throat. Recently, it's been done a big effort to try to count their population to estimate them because they're found only and only in the oasis. And due to the lack of water and all the environmental changes and the loss of habitat, their population is very threatened. And they're very shy to see. So this is like a big treasure when you find it. The band-tailed pigeon, it's on the Sierra up in the mountain. And the yellow-footed gull, that it's the Sea of Cortez gull. It looks like any other gull basically, but it's yellow-footed and it's a different species. So that we'll see in the Sea of Cortez and in the lower part of the southern part of the Sea of Cortez. So I like to talk about, we do a lot of pelagic and coastal bird watching because a lot of activities in Baja or the touristic activities are on boats, like sailing, sea safaris, whale watching, going snorkeling, scuba diving. But avid tourism is something new or something that is being recently introduced because you have a lot of chances to see things that you don't see on land. For example, just here, there's a picture of a group of bird watchers just watching the side of the island that is very close here to here. But if you see the water is very pristine, clear water. There's a little mesh bushes around in the desert, but in the rocks or just in the water, you can see like this one. There's a ear grip, the one in the right and lower part of the screen, and cormorants. We get a lot of visits of cormorants, so we see a lot of aquatic and shorebirds. But if you go deeper in the ocean, which is very interesting, a few miles away when you're in a sea safari, like looking for orcas or going diving with the manta rays, that you have to navigate a little farther from shore, you'll see storm petrels, you'll see joggers. The dark one is a pink-footed jogger, uh, and other birds that you won't have chance to see inland. And if you see the speciality of these birds, if you can appreciate their beak, they have nostrils in this part, like I mean, in the upper part of their beaks, in front of their eyes, they have these tubes that help them like locate the food and orientate themselves through the ocean when even through the storms or when they are very far from land just by its smell sense. And they are very tough, and it's very interesting to watch them because they can fly very fast. And when I put they look like butterflies is because they literally like fly like randomly, like when you're looking flying like a bat or a butterfly, that it's not like this graceful movement that a swallow will have. So when you see that with your binoculars and you approach or you try to focus them, it's very, well, exploding emotion when you find them in the middle of the ocean. And there are many beauty forms. So a tropical bird, you can see on the right of the screen. I've seen this twice and going out to see the sea lions. They're at a whole show. It's not very common to see them. But also, if you're just navigating close to the rocks or so, you can see the blue-footed boobies, which are not usually seen close to the shore, or maybe only related to Galapagos. People just think blue-footed boobies, Galapagos immediately, but we have close by a reproductive colony in the Sea of Cortez, in one of the islands in the Sea of Cortez, but they visit here a lot because there's a lot of fish in the Sea of Cortez. So they are also, all these presence of birds are a very good evidence of the fish stock. So, and they tell us a lot about the healthy of the ocean, because if there's fish and the ocean is healthy, they will be here. If they're gone, something's happening. So monitoring birds is also a good option to have an idea of how the environment health is. So this is one of the example of go bird watching. close to the reproductive colony. This is a natural protected area on the Espiritu Santo Island, close to La Paz, which is in the south of the peninsula. And you can see the male display of this bag on their throat and their gall. They inflate it and they make a clacking sound when they are on reproduction season. This colony is very, very healthy. You can see they're like nesting on the top of what used to be a mangrove. And on the other picture, you can see the babies. So you have some of the chicks in between the leaves of the mangrove. They're completely white and they're very fluffy. So when you go bird watching, you have to keep your distance, but with good binoculars, you can appreciate the reproductive behavior, these males making this beautiful display to females. And then a few weeks later, you can see the fluffy chicks around the mangrove. And this is an amazing place to watch them. Also, there's a lot of research being done there. So even if you do some birding tours, you get a lot of information directly from the naturalist guides or the researchers that sometimes are guiding also. Just as me, I used to guide, I'm a guide also, but also I used to work with researchers and research myself. So there's a lot of data about these wonderful animals or other birds in the peninsula. Uh, just watch them glide this frigate magnificence, which is the frigate birds. They just fly very, very high and they don't flap their wings at all because they can just stay on the wing for hours. So there's data in this from these colonies that they were tagged, and with cameras and other chips that they had been put on, that they go back and forth from the Pacific side to the Sea Cortez side, even 3 times in a day, because they just fly around, or they are so light on their weight, they can sleep on flight. And there's one with one record that's kept flying for like 60 days without touching any land and without going down. And we knew this because of the GPS tracker it had that marked its altitude and its movements around. So they can sleep on their flying. They just find a warm current very high on top and they just start like moving side to side, and that's or going in circles with the air, and that's and their brain activity with also another chip that it's monitoring their brain activity. It's lower, less to half, so you can tell that they are like reducing activity and they're just going in circles. That's probably because they're sleeping. Well, Natural Habitat Adventures has on the peninsula in Baja, we have the Great Wells of Baja trip, which starts in Loreto, which is in part of the peninsula, in the middle part of the peninsula, and it goes all the way to San Ignacio Lagoon, where we go to see the gray whales and their mating behaviors and their babies. But what I want to go through here is that we have to go through in a bus. Well, when we just, or if you just decide to drive through Baja, there's a lot of things to see also just on the ride, because it's a lot of desert, But birds are animals of habits, just as many mammals, just as us. So I've just realized that there are many birds that are always on the same spots during the way. So if you just are traveling through Baja, or when I travel with my kids to nearby towns, I just love to watch through the windows, of course, when I'm not driving, and just take a look at what it's around. There's a lot of roadrunners, turkey bolters. You can see a lot of hawks. Um, Crested carcaras are a whole show to see. They are normally always on couples, which is also very nice also to see, because they are always together. Kestrels, I also always see them on couples. not very close one to each other, but I have some spots in 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 the road, in the cable, in the electricity cables that I know what I always see. A couple of them maybe 100 meters apart from each other, but I think they're a couple because they're always in the same place. And a lot of doves and quails. And if you're, I wrote down there like golden eagle. There's reports of in the Baja and mainly in the road in the way from San Ignacio to Loreto, and a little higher also to Guerrero Negro, which is the part of the middle of the peninsula. There's reports of golden eagles. These are endangered, and these are like bald eagles for Americans. Golden eagles are like on our flag. So it's a very important representative animal, charismatic animal for us in Mexico, but they're very endangered. And here we have the chance to see them. I just seen them like twice, but as a birder, all these surprises just like accelerate your heart, and it's so beautiful and exciting. So even just in a ride, as I say, you can just have a lot of fun. And okay, remember I told you the peninsula is super long. It's, just drive from here to Tijuana. I'm leaving La Paz, by the way, which is 2 hours from Cabo. So I'm still not all the way south. So just to ride from the very south to the border on Tijuana, it's like 22-hour non-stop driving. So imagine if I want to go over there, just I have to drive from a Friday, and I will still arrive on Sunday night, only with quick stops. So it's very, very long. It's longer than we think it is. So that gives us miles and miles of shore. And most of this shore is completely pristine and uninhabited. So there's no cities in many of the shores. So if you go to any shore, you will find shorebirds. And on migrating um, season, like on the winter, starting depending on which area you are, but of course, starting from October, we start watching the birds passing by, and during the winter, we receive a lot of visitors. We have through the whole peninsula, if I can go back to the map, so the whole peninsula has a lot of these estuaries and mangrove area. So in the middle of the peninsula, we also have one of the biggest wetlands. So it's kilometers and kilometers of square areas that are wetlands. This is very important because all the shorebirds use this as resting spots on their migrations. So the peninsula has many, many spots on the chain of the route of the Pacific. So these birds definitely need to have these spots preserved because they need them for resting. And some of them, they just are losing a lot of habitat of resting. So a lot of them are staying longer in these places. So we can see, I mean, it's so bad that they're losing a lot of resting spots, but also it's good that here we can keep them or they can rest a little longer here because they find a lot of food. So now we see them, and we've seen them for tons, but we see them like on millions of them. Um, Spotted, the little starlings, the tiny, I forgot the name, Calidris mauri, because I have to learn, the scientific English and Spanish name. Well, it'll come back to me. Magnots, wimbrels, just all these shorebirds, you just see them like in huge flocks, huge flocks. And this is just one example. And all these bays and estuaries, as I told you, are full of hungry folks. So this is one picture that I love because the water is so calm that sometimes you can see um, these feeding behaviors. You can see in the other picture, it's part of an oasis. So it's literally a lot of palms and ponds and very green areas in between very, very dry mountains. So, and they have a mix normally of salt and fresh water because there's a income from fresh water from the mountains, but also when they're very close to the shore, there's an income from the ground that it's salty water and mixes over there. So also this mix makes a lot of nutrients, and then you have a lot of little invertebrates living in the sediments and all the shorebirds. I have a guide here. So this is a local guide. This is imagine these are all the shorebirds. Oh, but you can see me. You cannot see me. Sorry. But I'll show it at the end. But in the guides, you can see all the shorebirds have different lengths on their beaks, and this is because they are all feeding in the same area, but the lengths of their beak make them feed in different depths of the mud. So they are all feeding in the same space, but not competing to each other. So this allows to have amazing amounts of birds in the same on the same place, and a lot of diversity of the species. So this is how an oasis looks in the middle of the peninsula. So we have two types, as I said, the ones that are like just ponds, huge ponds with palm trees close to the coast, like an estuary, like the big one in your left side on the screen. But the one is in the upper side. It's in between canyons, even it's in the desert. There's creeks and these very, very green areas. And this is where we can find the Belting's warbler, which is the one I said is a very an endemic species that it's very, very shy and it's very nice to find. But also we have in this oasis a lot of uh, ducks, geese, grebes, a lot of these tiny birds that depend of the system of the water systems like herons, and as I will see, egrets, herons, and a lot of surprises. I said surprises here because, well, when they're feeding, it's so beautiful to see them. We have in the middle a reddish egret. They are called here in the peninsula La Garza Loca. Do you know what loca means? Loca means crazy, because it runs like crazy, like with their wings open, like yeah, like making a ram, totally crazy display, like an hysterical display, just running around with the wings open and making a lot of weird movements because it's trying to scare the fish away from their hits, from the hide spots. So when it finally scares the fish out, it can't get fed. But it's very funny to see all these feeding behaviors. But also there's a green heron that it's hard to find, but you find them in between mangroves, and it's very beautiful and colorful, but they are shy. But in these estuaries, you can go kayaking, or you're maybe on the paddle board very quietly, and you approach through the channels, and then you can find these um, shy birds that are just hiding in between the branches. A lot of these grebes and all other uh, tiny birds. I forget the word when they just go in and out of the water. Okay, it will come to me. But all these birds, you can see them hiding in between the branches of the mangroves and the ponds. And also, you can see a lot of hybrids of ducks because something that I've learned trying to do the identification of ducks and geese is that ducks can hybridate. So that means that they reproduce in between species, and then you get mixes of colors and patterns that are so hard to identify. but you get all those surprises too. And the pelican, the white pelican, migrates from the central, very north part of America, of the continent. And we have one here spotted in what you can see is a man-made island. This is in the water treatment plant that is a man-made oasis in the middle of the city I live. That is now an eco park to go watch, to go bird watching. But these are an experiment from the university, just with recycled materials. You could see it's kind of made of plastic boxes with floating devices, and they put some branches on top and mud. Now the birds are starting to nest in them because, as I said, in many cities, just like any other places here, we have still a little bit of loss of habitat. So this is a way to help them to recover and have like pristine and calm and tranquil places for them to reproduce, but also for these visitors. This gorgeous pelican is the first register of a white pelican visiting this new park in the city. Uh, I had my research friends getting all excited about, oh, you have a picture of a pelican. Where do you saw it? I said, like, yes, it's in the park, in the new park. So we were very excited. And all these white pelicans, we find them in San Ignacio Lagoon too when we are going birding after whale watching. And locally, they're called borregones. Borregones means like big, big sheep, because when they are just resting in the sun in the morning, because it's cold mornings up in San Ignacio Lagoon, they are just resting, and they are like all like wrapped up, or like, yeah, sitting, but they look like huge sheep because they are huge inside. So they look like a herd of sheep, but they are actually a flock of white pelicans. So I just love seeing them, and they are so beautiful. So prepare your camera lenses when you come down to visit, because they are all so handsome. And if you're quiet and patient, you can just make amazing photos like this one. This is an American oyster catcher and a turnstone shorebird. But if you see, I want to thank also, because you see these pictures are marked in the corner with a mark that says Lugares Pajarosos. These are pictures from a very close friend, Lalo Alcala, that he studied with me in the university. So he shared me a lot of his pictures. We started guiding bird tours like a few years ago. And the good thing is that net of bird watchers here is very, very close, and they all work together. And this is amazing that everybody shares their pictures. And also for research is very important, because many times with your camera and very good lenses that I know a lot of you have, because you love go outside and take pictures, is that you can find rings. And part of research that we've made and with the university and many students and other research labs from other parts of the world is tagging with rings and with some numbers. So there's local campaigns encouraging people to go outside and share the pictures with these labs or these groups of birders if you find some of these numbers, because that tells us a lot of, gives us a lot of information of where these birds are being going around, if they're still alive, or of if they moved somewhere, of how far they flew, and also their lifespan. So we can know a lot of just watching them again. And the citizen science that it's called now helps a lot. Getting involved of watching and sharing what you find, it's also very important with scientists. And another place, because we're talking about the enchantment of birding in Baja, something that many people don't know is that we have the Sierra de la Laguna, but all along the peninsula we have some mountain ranges, but some of them are very high in altitude. So just the Sierra de la Laguna is 1,298 miles altitude. So maybe it's not like a super peak, but considering that it's so close to the shore, it's a very, very big difference, just and very, steep, because it's just too close to the shore. And the peninsula you see in the picture is very narrow. So this is a picture of the pine and oak forest that you can find in there. And it's a completely different habitat. It's cold most of the time of the year. It has a lot of water, flowers, woodpeckers, rabbits, deer, just like, like a Disney scenery of Bambi, kind of like that. So it's beautiful because you don't expect that in the middle of the desert. So you just walk up the mountain or drive up the mountain in a couple hours and you'll be there. If you want to walk it up, it's like a whole day, but you can do it. Um, and if you take your binoculars and your birding guides, you'll find the cirrus habitats. And this is very interesting because there's a lot of subspeciation. So we call it like a natural evolution lab because you can study the isolation, and with a lot of now modern tools as DNA tests, we can see how species that we can find on other mountains are now getting isolated genetically from the land species. So I don't have a very good picture of this woodpecker, but this is an acorn woodpecker, the one that's more blurry. But this is already a new species. This is an endemic species from the mountain. And it's very similar to any other woodpecker, but its face is yellower. It has another color, pattern color, but the main difference is that it's a population isolated completely to any other sierra or mountain or any other forest in the world. And also with the birds junco, that is on the other extreme of the screen. The studies that also are saying that this is a new subspecies, but still there's a lot of research to do, and we need to learn a lot of these birds because watching them is one thing. Uh, Finding all of them, it's hard also, but catching them and having the time to study them and go through all the research of DNA and taking samples of them is very complicated. I participated on the hermit thrush catch and release because we needed to get all these samples of blood for DNA and feathers for the Colorado University. And it took us like 10 days of finding them and just to get 20 specimens. There's 20 different individuals. It was very hard and we almost didn't do it. We had to work all day through all these days. So imagine the lack of information that we have from this evolutionary lab and all the things that we have to discover. And not only with the birds, it also happens with plants, insects, small mammals, reptiles, many, many things to discover in this so isolated or like far up the mountain places that are so far away from other forests or in connected with the species. These species don't go anywhere else. These birds stay there. So it's amazing. It's like going to somewhere else, like far away from the peninsula. You don't even imagine you're in Baja. And another birds that visit or live in these areas. This is a mix of everything. I love the elf owl. We have pygmy owls, elf owls, screech owls, horned owl, but these little teeny tiny ones you can find in the desert, living inside the holes in cactus, in the huge, beautiful cactus of the desert, are beautiful, and you just have to go out and walk in the night. And it's very relaxing because actually it's cooler than in the day. It's easier because you're not in the burning sun of the desert. but you can find cardinals, a lot of flycatchers, sparrows, jays. As you can see here, we have a brand that is the geese that is in the bottom line. Last year we had contabilized in San Ignacio Lagoon more than 10,000 brands. I don't know. I can't remember. It was like a huge number. They come from the north part of the Pacific, and they gather in the lagoons in the peninsula by thousands. And then also we have surf scooters that are these very interesting dogs that are in the right upper corner. I love them because these males, as you can see, they have a very thick beak and a colorful face. We see them when we will go whale watching, but these are the only marine ducks in the world. So ducks are aquatic. They can either be in the shores of the ocean or in lakes or in rivers, but these ones are the only ones that are completely marine, and we can find them here. And we have also other kind of boobies. We have this one in the screen. It's a brown booby, but we have seen red-footed boobies, tropical boobies. Birds don't have limits. And the bird watching teams in Baja are kids to adults, elder adults that are retired that can just watch birds from their yards. All the central part of the picture is other friends, collaborators, researchers. Almost all of these in the picture are ornithologists that I studied with, but also we can see in the middle with a blue jacket, it's another expedition leader, Sophie Merino, that guides also in Alaska and in Baja with me. And also, if you can see in the other picture, there's a lot of the people that live up in the Sierra that have the ranchos. The rancheros are like starting to learn with these classes from the university how to be um, a mountain guides, how can they be local guides and start making ecotourism from birding in their own lands that are so pristine and beautiful up in the mountains. So they're very interested because that's a new income for them and makes this more and more natural and with how you say ecotouristic practices. I mean, like natural friendly ecotourism. That's what I meant. So just going, walking, and watching, and that's what they're learning, and to get money from other sources that are not only cattle or other things like that. So I'm almost about to finish, but I want to say special thanks to El Laboratorio de Aeroecología Marina. So this is one of the labs that work here in La Paz University lab of birds and lugares pajarosos and where to find them. This is the birdie places and where to find them. That's what it means. This is all our collaborators and friends that shared with me a lot of the pictures. I'm not a great photographer, but I do like a lot to go walking and learning and sharing my passion because I'm from Mexico City. I have 13 years living here, and for me was a complete surprise just knowing all these beautiful places and people and sharing with visitors what local people share with me about their treasures they have and how much they take care of them. So I invite you, if you want to come. Mexico is a great place to bird. It has many different places to go do it. Many different environments, from rainforest to high mountains, cities, and wetlands, and deep jungles, the desert, you know, a lot of different places to go find many different birds. So take a chance to visit and find tiny and big surprises with your binoculars. And I think that's all. Thank you. Go outside, open your eyes and your hearts, and get enchanted by all the birds in Baja.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. All right, so let's get to some of these questions. So, the, we saw a picture of roadrunners. Are they feeding on lizards?
Yes, they. I'm gonna try to open my camera. If it starts sounding funny again, I will turn it off so I can answer. Hi again.
Welcome back. Do you want to get your display up again too?
Okay, I will try to do it again. Well, yes, the roadrunners feed mostly in lizards and snakes. And you know what else? Rattlesnakes. We have tons of rattlesnakes here in the peninsula, uh, which I find fascinating. And roadrunners depend on their presence because they feed on rattlesnakes.
Great, thank you so much. So do the lagoons in Baja, do they get a lot of rain during the summer?
No, not at all. Not at all. This year, you know how much rain we had? None. So this year we had a bad dry year, but fortunately, all the water that we get comes from the mountains. So it only rains in the southern part of the peninsula, in the high part of the mountain. I want to show you again, uh, while I can get there. Um, Remember, I said that we are in the bottom. We have this. We have the mountain range but it's blocking like in the middle from the Pacific and the Sea of Cortez. So it like the winds keep the mountains on top of them keep the clouds. Pardon me, keeps the clouds in the top of the mountains all the time. So it only rains there, most only on the rainy season, but it holds up the water. That's why they have this. But this water remains there also by evaporation that drains down through the mountains in the rest of the peninsula. That's how the desert stays alive, a lot because of the evaporation of the or condensation of the moist on the environment because of the close ocean that it's nearby. That's that's one of the sources of water.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. You showed us a picture of an oyster catcher, but there was also another bird in that slide. I know one of our guests is wondering if you could identify that bird for us.
Oh yeah. Do you see it again?
Uh,
Am
we
I
do
sharing?
not.
Okay, let me put it again on sharing. Entonces aquí, I'm gonna share again. Start screen, window, this one, share. There you go. You see it
All
again?
right. Yes, we sure
Yeah.
do.
It's a turnstone. Let me. Is it already turnstone?
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we get to
So,
see these ones in San Ignacio Lagoon in front of our cabanas when we are there staying.
so if I'm coming down to visit Baja with NatHab, are there good places for us to go on our NatHab trips to do some bird watching?
Yes, of course. Just in front of the cabanas. I mean, where we're staying is in a camp that it's. I wanted to show you the picture, but I couldn't find it. Um, let's say that we're in front of the straight on the front of the lagoon, but next to the camp we have a big extension of mangroves. So when we go there, we can see in the very low tides. I mean, you don't even have to walk far from your cabana. When it's very low tide, the lagoon in front of us just kind of move back a little bit, so it's very shallow, and we can see a lot of shorebirds feeding in between the rocks. But if it's um, high tides with the water coming up, we can go in the mangroves and see that a lot of those birds move closer to the other areas, but also we see all these herons and even a mangrove warbler, which is a very interesting one because you can see it's a yellow warbler with a red coloration in the head because it's specific more for yellow warblers, and we see those, and then we go visit other parts in the community that we learn a little bit of fisheries, and there's tons of birds because it's fisheries and fishermen cabañas there and casitas, and of course there's a lot of hungry folks feeding there, and we see a lot of ospreys. I forgot to mention that all the way from San Ignacio town to San Ignacio Lagoon are a lot of nests of ospreys, and we get to see ospreys nesting. And when we go to see the whales, it's their reproductive season. So sometimes we see the babies in the nest and the mom and the dad taking care of them.
Great. Thank you, Danny. Well, that's going to be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to hand it back to you for any closing comments you may have for us.
Well, thank you for your patience about me learning also to share and the screen and everything. I want to show you now that you can see me on screen. These are this is one kind of guides. These are pocket guides that we have from different places. You can see this is from Sierra La Laguna, this is from San Ignacio Lagoon, this is from shorebirds, this is from Guerrero Negro, and these are only from some few places in Baja. That means that is what I'm talking about, that we have so many different environments that we need a specific pocket guide for each place. Just to show you, these are all the shorebirds that we can get to see because this is the only shorebirds guide, pocket guide. This is only about shorebirds. Sorry, it's so blurry, but these are all the shorebirds that we can get to see in this area. And we love to join us even in Baja or also in the monarchs because are also a mountain range. We also have a lot of endemisms in the top of those mountains in the volcanic central belt of Mexico because it's a completely different mountain range, and we see a lot of hummingbirds and a lot of warblers, and also it's a whole different universe for birding. So either of the two destinations you choose, you have a lot of birds to see and get excited with us about it.
Danny, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. So if you're interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, give us a call at 800-543-8917, or you could send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us Monday for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out next week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.